I'll turn this over to Sarah and get the reading started.
All right. Yes, so Jane posted the link in the chat where you could submit your work. But first up for the reading aloud is Lena K.
I actually need to get out of the app so I can go to docs because I'm using an iPad, so it's going to turn off my camera. But
Okay.
I flew down the stairs and threw a satchel over my shoulder, quickly shoving on my shoes. I'm late, were the only words going through my brain. More accurately, ichach in the Kopath language. I ran out the door, rushing towards the tree of Walachin. When I got there, I removed the satchel, threw it to the side, and knelt in front of the tree. Its pink and green leaves rustled in annoyance as I muttered the verse of Walachin. Ahmed lachufa carnal, pofengs harlo mabifo. I grabbed my satchel and raced off to school. As soon as I had gone through the door, I felt green elven eyes on my back. I averted my gaze and lowered myself into my chair, muttering an apology. The teacher tapped a pencil on his desk impatiently. Late, he announced. Detention on Tuesday and Friday. I groaned and he glared at me. He turned back to the lesson. I tuned out. When he had finished lecturing us, I got up eagerly and went to the lunchroom. I opened my satchel and found a charlemendel, a type of purple fruit, a pecan sandwich, and a box of violet juice. As I ate, an elven girl came up to me. Hi, she said shyly. I'm Aris. I'm new here. What's your name? I'm Juanu, I said. Want to sit here? Sure, Aris said, plopping down a lunch tray. What languages do you know? It's a way of tradition to know what languages someone speaks before befriending them. For elves, anyways. I swallowed a bite of charmleful. Valachin, Aryar, and Vanisha, I responded. And you? Valachin, Vanisha, and English, she said proudly. I gawped at her. You know English? I demanded. Only humans know English. Well, my mom is American, Aries said, blushing. Quietly, she said. She's a human. Wow, was all I could manage. Most people don't want to be my friend because of my parentage, she said. So, I'll be your friend, I said immediately. We talked and laughed over lunch. I had made a new friend. It matters where you come from, but not as much as it matters what is in your heart.
Really nice, Lena. Very well done. Just effortless flowing into the elfin language. Completely appropriate. Just I thought it was really nice, and also this nice exploration of what can be a problem I know in some societies if you come from what that society perceives to be mixed heritage. I have a friend in Japan who had a child with a European, and she's a professor, so she's just fine in her life, but she has told me that socially in Japan that is difficult. So it's really nice to see fantasy exploring real world situations, and a lovely use of that language, and it sounded like fairy language to me, elfin language to me. Very nice. Thank you.
All right. So it seems like Lena, did you want to go, or should we?
No, Lindsay can have my spot. I spent so much time developing my language and thinking about it that I forgot to do much writing. So I'll have to continue it. But that's the sign of a good workshop. I got kind of interrupted.
Well, that's very nice of you. And please send in what you did write, though. And so I guess we'll have Lindsay go. Lindsay?
Yeah, so I didn't exactly finish, but I spent a lot of time thinking about everything, but okay. The Cassie Imble crawled out of her nest. Her long blubber-colored fur fell into her eyes as she leapt from tree to tree in a snoop-a-loo manner. Finally, she came upon a small grove where 3 Aku children already stood nibbling on mincer cat mushrooms. She growled at them, and they disappeared into the forest of maples and oaks. She grabbed an Okay, sighed Nat, squealing in happiness as she realized the water Mary was inside. Unfortunately, her squeal was heard. The creature, brown as a boggy kit, stood there staring at her. Cop and cub izzle. Koki apar abuya? Suki? She knew that had to mean something, but she couldn't figure out what. She only spoke midst her mouth and thought maybe the creature spoke logical. Her mother had wanted her to speak that, but she had refused. She gave the creature the water though she didn't want to. Waterinaries could sell for at least 5 cassie mushrooms. The creature smiled at her. She smiled back. She woke up. It had been 25 more since she had given the creature the watermary. She looked out a tickle in her nest and saw something that made her heart leap into her throat. A small watermary sat on the stone next to her nest, and a small clump of brown fur was caught there too. Now she heard a soft sound carried through the wind. Moru, thank you. I didn't really develop the plot that much because I was working on all the different
It's good, Lindsay. What you've got is great. In half an hour, it's amazing. It's good work. It's very good work. So I wanted to comment on a couple things. Again, a very nice use of the language. We often wonder, what is the bird saying? What is the squirrel saying? I mean, you can see them chatting. Um, there is an animal in the American Midwest called the prairie dog. And there was a fantastic experiment where experimenters would walk through carrying big pieces of colored cardboard. There'd be like a triangle that was red or a circle that's blue. And they found that the talk of the prairie dogs changed, the chatter changed, and in predictable ways as they have these different things. So they're quite certain that with the prairie dogs, they might actually be able to figure out, what some of this chatting is. And I loved, of course, that the parent had said, I told you to learn that language, and that you refused, because that, of course, is all too human. I won't digress into my own experiences in something similar, because it will take too much time. I liked the natural setting, the maple, I think it was beech forest, and at the ending of this beautiful thing, the soft sound carried through the wind. So Lindsay, I mean, it's a really great start. You did a good job. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
All right. Next up is Sophie Di Gioia. Is that how you pronounce it?
Gioia.
Sorry.
Gioia. It's Italian, so the first I is not pronounced. So yeah, Kaden will probably get some of the references I'm making because My day is going normally until she arrives. For any of you wondering who she is, the only answer I can give you is your guess is as good as mine. My friend has just left and I'm sitting under a tree, chilling with my creamy chill and Timbits, when a short, nut-skinned girl with pointy ears pops up. I jump to my feet and emit a small scream. Once I see that it's not some sort of snake that just appeared, I control my breathing and try to relax. Who are you? I was tempted to say, what are you? Figured that would set a bad note. The girl didn't seem to understand what I said. Che hai detto, scusa? Excuse me? I asked. She glares up at me, and despite her being about 2 feet shorter, I must admit I'm intimidated. T'ho chiesto cosa m'hai detto, scemotta? At this point, I'm extremely confused. Who are you? I try again. She's infuriated by this for some reason. Ok, bambina, non so cosa stai a dire, ma non ti ho chiesto cosa avevi detto. E se non mi rispondi nei prossimi 5 secondi, ti faccio un cavolo così che ti mando metà del corpo fino a Friuli, Venezia Giulia e l'altra metà te la mando a Calabria. Quindi rispondimi, idiota, santo cielo. I can tell by the tone of her voice that something bad's about to happen. I can sense the exasperation in her voice too. One look into her tiny brown eyes shows flames that flicker like a candle. I take a step back and trip on a root, causing me to fall on my back. She finds this funny, apparently, because she has the audacity to laugh. Suddenly, I hear a voice near my head. Buonasera, saluta Antonio. I get a glimpse of who it is and scream again. Another short person with pointy ears is sitting next to my head. grinning a grin that looks somewhere between a toddler's and a serial killer's. He looks disappointed at my reaction and walks over to the original elf thing and says what I believe is a comment on my behavior. Oh, ma sta qui una codarda. The original demon elf creature rolls her eyes. Guarda, non dirla a me. Cioè, non capisco perché capo dovevo manda a me e non qualcuno come Ered. A shrug from the new creature. Boh, capo fa quello che vuole, proprio perché è capo. Non sono fatti nostri. Sì che lo sono invece, idiota. And just like that, they're gone, and I can hear their voices, but they fade quickly. Soon, any proof that they were here is gone, except the fact that my Timbits went with them. My Timbits are gone. So it was very, very terrible, in my opinion.
No, that's brilliant. Brilliant. And I'm Liam, I think you've got your competitor for fast typing here. That is just the perfect, incredible use of a foreign language, the use of Italian.
Yeah, because I didn't have to like form all the language stuff because it's a language I already speak. It's it's the dialect of where I'm from. It's Rome, so it's what here in Rome we call Romanaccio, which is just it's Italian with some words kind of like mixed up. Like te is supposed to be like it's you. It means you. Tipo, T. In actual Italian, it's T, but in Romanaccio, it's te. It's like every region I think has their own dialect.
Yeah, I have friends who live outside of Trento, and
Trento, yeah, that's in Trentino Alto Adige. It's in the north, right?
In the north, yeah. And when they speak at home, they speak in the local, in their dialect. They also speak German because of its history, but I can't digress. Look, I want to say, Sophie, is first of all, you always need to be confident about your writing, okay? Never apologize. What you did is actually really good. And speaking the Italian really fast, making it a different pace than the English is also sort of brilliant. You have these dialogues going back and forth, whipsawing back and forth between these characters.
And it really expressed the character, the energy and the speed, and that that you're feeling intimidated by this tiny creature that's going at you. It was really fabulous.
Basically, the tiny creature, the first one, she's telling her like, I asked you like what you said, and if you don't tell me, I will send half of your body to the north and the other half of your body to the south. Because the creature's from Italy, so there's like the north of Italy and the south of Italy. It's like because Friuli Venezia Giulia.
Okay, even that, Sophie. So you need, when you send it to Stone Soup, if you can include a translation, that would be good.
Okay.
Because so the storytelling in both the English and then the dialect that we don't understand is also just really, I think exceptional. So I don't know why you weren't confident, except your age, and it's good, and this audacity to laugh, that was a nice little touch. How can you have the audacity to laugh? Just really good. And so the rest of you who are fluent in other languages, what you can see with what she's done right there, that's a really great use. Suddenly they're off flying, talking in Greek or in Chinese.
Italian.
No, you're Italian. I'm talking to the other foreign language speakers. But so that was really good. Thank you so much. Next.
All right. So some of us might have to go, but for the rest of us that can stay another 15 minutes, next up is Sierra.
Tall conifers sway gently in the evening breeze, tilting toward the Pacific coast as if craning their long necks toward the water's edge. Children laughed gleefully as they sprinted across the smooth sand, wrapping up a day of adventure and excitement, all but one who sat huddled in the jet-black jacket leaning against a rocky cliff. She heard her parents calling for her, but she paid no notice, instead staring blankly up at the sunset, painted lavender and a rosy pink. The wave lapped softly at the shoreline, several hundreds of feet from the young girl, who through it all remained perfectly hidden. Her parents became desperate, shouting louder and louder for their child to return. She stood, but not intending to return home. Not yet. As she had done for years now, she sprinted past the spires of rock that were positioned jaggedly along the ocean, some halfway submerged by salty sea water. The voices of her parents became drowned out with the harmonious wind and waves, blending together into a sort of song. Come, the child beckoned sweetly, finally sitting down where the beach grew thin and the ocean became immeasurable. The water spun upward into a spiral, causing the child to leap backward suddenly. A smile formed on her face when a sleek creature emerged. It was who she'd been waiting for, her dolphin, the one she had met 4 years ago on that stormy winter night, the one that had visited her each time she came back to the beach, the one that greeted her with compassion and exhilaration. The dolphin chortled cheerily, keeping most of itself in the sea. It whistled 7 times repeatedly, speaking in a language that most humans couldn't make out. At first the girl struggled to understand as always. Then, pulling a chip of a shell from her pocket, she whispered, "I see, your pot is running out of food? The fish and squids have disappeared?" The dolphin whistled once, as if to agree. "Don't worry," the child replied hopefully, somehow still understanding with the shell she had found so many years ago. The creature swam away, calling out its goodbye, leaving the girl, still remaining on the sand in the exact spot, in shock as she always was after a welcome from her friend.
Okay, yes, yeah, really nice. I just thought the descriptions of the ocean, the waves lapping on the shoreline. I think it was what was it? Spires of jagged rocks, something like that. What was that phrase there?
Let me find it.
Yeah.
She sprinted past the spires of rock that were positioned jaggedly along the ocean, some halfway submerged by salty seawater.
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. So, it's a really great evocation, a really great description of being on a bit of a rocky bit of the beach. And if any of you, do start or maintain your writing journal, that's the kind of thing to note down, while you're there, to make it, ever more vivid. It was so I really just liked the storytelling part, the setting of the scene, the sense of place. As a parent, obviously, if my child ran off and I'm calling out, I would feel that panic. I liked that you bring that up, but this is the child's point of view. She's off out of nowhere. She's not thinking about her parents. She's thinking about her dolphin friend, and calling the dolphin. So there's this bit of little magic, and it's such a tiny little bit of magic. It doesn't call attention to itself. She calls this dolphin out of the sea, comes in the spiral, and then has kind of the translator shell, which I really, really like. I have my translator phone, I'll tell you. It was very useful in Japan a year ago, October, as my universal translator using Google Translate. And nice that the language that you've chosen is one that we can't understand at all, because truthfully, that is the case with all of our interactions really with our animal friends, is that we just don't understand what they're saying, and we make up ridiculous things. So beautiful, and I just love that little magic show. Lovely. Thank you very much, Sierra.
Kaden, did you want to say something before we go on to the next person?
I have to go, but thank you so much.
You have time to read? I guess not. All right.
Okay, so next up is Julia A.
Well, I wrote about four new words. There was once a barefoot tree that loved to eat the people that passed by, but it always got in trouble. It never got saved because it liked to speak its own language that no one else knew. That was called Trina. The tree always wanted to teach other animals and plants how to speak it, but everyone thought it was silly and they were afraid of the tree because it ate people. One day the tree was just standing there waiting for people to come, but instead there were people with large axes who wanted to cut the tree. The tree began screaming and saying help in its own language, which was Oxford, but no one listened. Fortunately, the tree watched a person drop his axe and saw its chance. It placed one of its branches on a person and carried it up to the leaves. Help! Screamed the person. Then he disappeared. The tree said Ingari, which was Wilmy in its own language. After that, no human or animal went by the tree and plants to it anymore. That's it.
I have to finish typing. Nice, a beautiful little thing. So it's got a beginning, a middle, and end. It's very nicely wrapped. Good descriptions. I just loved, the tree. People being afraid of the tree having a language it wants to teach, but for some reason it can't. It can't get the social bit working. The social bit, which is of course required in order to teach a language. And a nice sort of slipping in of the tree language words, and the person drops the axe. It brings it up, and we, again, a little bit like we saw with Sierra, a little bit of magic. Magic comes into the story in a very effortless way. So congratulations, Julia. Sorry, very nicely done.
All right, next is Georgia.
Sorry, could the person after me go before me and then I'll go?
Sure. Leo, do you want to go next?
Sure. Okay. I wrote a poem. It's called The End. Darkness arrives, light slowly leaves as the end approaches us all. The day has come, our time has come, the entire world will soon fall. Argalspi yo ra'a, pokal nak hikla, malsuri mekayo. Or Paul do rahark, korla fear morsdor, malsu netal perarer payo. Translation is below. The end is upon us, death has arrived, we will soon be gone. It cannot be stopped, sooner or later, we have to carry on. Translation is over. As I look at the world, at the blood-red sky, I see the ones around me decease. The flames approach me, but I smile with glee, now I can be at peace.
Okay, Leo, that's just really also super nice. I suppose Laura's, George's brother. Georgia, what's your brother's name?
William.
That's my name, William. I should be able to remember that. I think I mentioned last week that Laura, George's mother, recorded William imitating me, just saying, wow, wow, wow. But wow, Leo, the framing of the language, which sounds very Hebrew-like. Is some of it Hebrew?
Well, it's based on, it's a collection of Hebrew, Latin, French, and a bunch of other languages.
Okay. All right. Okay. All right. So, but I could hear a Hebrew cadence and for some of it, and that is a good thing. Again, for those of you who know these other languages, just think, how does something flow in Greek? If you're going to make up an imaginary language, maybe you can use a Greek kind of cadence. And then the translation: the end is upon us, death is upon us, is very, very powerful, and it fit. It just made me realize, yeah, that is what you were saying. That is what you were saying.
Yeah, the sound was so lyrical and so meditative. It completely is completely and utterly believable and real.
And there's I think a poem in Akkadian. Akkadian is a language of about 1300 BCE, so about 3,500 years ago. And about a time when there was a drought, and there's this really terrifying poem where people are saying we're sleeping on our rooftops, it's so hot, and everything is dead, and we're dying. And it was a time when there was an ecological collapse. And then you come out of the translation, and you say, look at the world, the blood red sky, which just so perfectly, tied in with with that narrative. So you've got to send that in to us, Leo. You have to send that in. Congratulations. And I'm going to put you down too on the list of people maybe doing a little language work group, because it sounds like you, Caden, and sorry, I'm terrible with names. Oh God, who was it? Lindsay. I'm going to have it mixed up. Who's done a lot of work in languages. Thank you. Let's move on.
All right. Georgia, are you good to go now?
Ready. Sorry about that.
Yeah, no problem.
So I have two versions, English version and then a made-up language version. Which should I read first?
Whatever you like.
All right, I'll read the English version first. The sharpest nails of clawing cats seem in denial to claw her. The sheep she keeps of oddest wails all flock ahead and kick her. Boing, the frog is jumping again. The frosted pans of piping hot cakes all sit in a neat row, and yet she has to go and sit upon her vine-entangled stump. She cries and flops, but stops to smell the flowers sitting in the meadow, and then she goes down that dusty road over a full mile until she stops. She spies a sea of golden blue, but ignores and sits at the edge of a camper van, in denial. Oh, how she flows down all the rows and paths and still stops to smell the flowers. Down on the ground she's hunched, avoiding the sharpest nails. She goes and cries again. And then my made-up one is the foilky bales of stumpish froins, all sleamy granile and cumbile bull, the sheep's ospels clanging and pupping jalone canool, gallowing the frog is betumbling raisin, the frosted pans of frying dumps, a matched in Macarlaroo, and yet she Falinoy, Belana, Vin entangled, and crossed Lamu. She cries and flomps to sniff the goggle hoppers, no stimmer and yet all tane. Gurgile the mile, dirt road sallowing the geniles of Galaho Overine. The Cameron camper van sits still, but cabiles in contingent Brene, in denial. Parcella Piscine, oh how she flows, Garine the fleurs, down Con la Mode. Baquiche a la groin, Bataille foilky bales, she goes and cries again.
That's really beautiful, 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 Laura. Georgia, God, I get tired. Let's go to your English one. Really nice descriptive language. The sharpest nails of clawing cats. The sharpest nails of clawing cats. Such a nice image. Nail, claw, cat. So you get also the alliteration in there. Clawing cats. And remember, always a little iteration, a little alliteration, I always think is a good thing. I also liked this thing, which is you bring in this cliche. To stop to smell the flowers is a cliche. People just say, you ought to stop to smell the flowers. And what was so nice is you've got this character. She's going down this long, dusty, mile-long road. She's following all these paths, but you say she always stops to smell the flowers. And that is a really good use of a cliche. We all know what you mean. And so we can understand something about her, because I think you can imagine that someone like me would always aspire to, I would dream, I really always want to stop and smell the flowers. We ought to stop and just get out and look at the wildflowers and look at what's happening. But in fact, I'll be behind, there'll be 10,000 things to do and I'll keep on going. So that part was really nice. And I also thought the made up language sounded beautiful. Really nice. And a little bit of English that was there helps us stay grounded. So congratulations.
I love goggle hoppers.
I was kind of inspired by Alice in Wonderland because my brother was watching it the other day.
Mm-hmm.
Nice. Yeah. I'd like to use some of those words.
All right.
So is Nami still here?
I think she had to go.
Okay, how about Nova?
So The first half of my thing is completely and in Bambulgoru. In Bambulgoru, that's the name of the language, and then the translation is the second half. Tifilano sape, lo se, nafe mapo, tala ole, belsaro, auliselo, ole sanis, crossleite, huelteso, panelos, roleso, ise eleneas, nayes, anolelos, anlelatos, hielo nones, ni pelosal, loselas, anolelaboles, fonea hueralos, tifi, nari, laues, ersalo, nayes, anolelos, gretosa es ersola, jojemos, jolepos, au pelos, shela ubepos, ifelos, hielonones, nubenau, huelanex, gabule, fenalela, hielonones. And then the English is Taffy Land said, I say, no more goofing off. Be serious. Our lives are on the line. Crossly, Wayne Pear rolled his eyes and admonished, you never have fun. Taffy, narrowing her eyes and gritting her teeth, choked out, shut up if you know it's good for you. That's the end.
Okay, great. And you know, there's this, so first of all, about your language. I thought it was a very, very, very melodic, very clear what the words were. And it had a very particular sound that was consistent. I mean, it sounded to me like, you know, a very romance language, romance languagey sound.
I tried to make it softer, not like that language we listened to before.
Not like Klingon, not like Klingon. I mean, it sounded, you know, the Italian, the French, Spanish. Those are the, you know, romance languages in there. And
well, Lena, Kim, Lena with an I, I am my mom is Spanish and I speak a little bit. So yeah, I guess I did unconsciously base it on Spanish a little bit, but I didn't really base it on languages.
No, because, and it doesn't sound like Spanish. I'm just saying.
I thought, yeah.
It was
one of the things I thought was really interesting about it, Nova, was that your invented language it has more words. So it took more words to say the same thing.
Actually, it just took more sounds. The words are longer.
Ah, that's what it is. Okay. But I thought that was I really liked that, because the story in English, you realize, is about someone telling someone else to be quiet. So it took longer. In the original language, they were talking for a lot longer. So I just thought that was really lovely. I like that.
Actually, when I thought of this, I was kind of thinking about them in a dangerous forest, and maybe when they said "shut up if you know it's good for you," there's like some dangerous plant like trying to like get Wayne.
So then I want to talk about I want to get on to the English. So that piece you just read there had a directness that we haven't heard much of before from you, or really from anybody. You guys know what I mean? Especially, you know, she admonished Taffy, she narrows her eyes and she says, shut up if you know what is good for you. And of course, shut up is a little bit outside of standard English, because you're moving into this informal, you know, a really informal English. I don't know if Liam is still here, but Liam brings it, he's gone. So I really like the clarity of that, of your English. No more goofing off, be serious. It's like real English, real cadence. And if you guys will keep a dialogue, a book of conversations where you write down snippets of what you overhear people saying, don't spy, but that's the kind of thing to try to get the reality of actual speech into your dialogue. And I think you did that really well, Nova. Okay, moving on.
All right, I think we just have time for one more person. So Rachel, do you want to go?
It's not very long. I think it's 130 words, so a very small paragraph. Ginger sat on her toadstool and thumped her heels against the stem. Thump, 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 and then some more thumping. Ginger allowed her legs to hang, but the thumping did not go away. Louder and louder, closer and closer, until it appeared around a clump of zincle. About time you showed up, she said, glaring at the beast. Hodani Malama. There was traffic, he grumbled. Ginger rolled her eyes and flew toward him. She was no bigger than his trumple, but didn't seem the least bit intimidated. Come on, let's go. She landed on his shoulder, trying not to wrinkle her nose at the putrid smell of old fish and garhunkel. Zuncle Hugglties, my apologies, miss. Yeah, she said, annoyed that she had to do this. That's all I have.
Okay, it's very nice, Rachel. It's a very, very good start. So of course she's sitting on a toadstool, so we know she's got to be small. And she thumps her heel against the stem. I like this sound. This is like good observation. It makes it feel real that your little imaginary creature is doing something in the real world. And I think that's really important when you create these fictitious, these completely imaginary worlds. Well, they're all imaginary, but a fantasy where a character might be really small, that that you have little bits of reality like Rachel did there, where you can hear a sound. It's it's a thump, so it's quieter than, or where's my speaker? Down here. And then just this natural use of the made-up language, the zincle or whatever. What's the name of the creature? Is it a?
It didn't really have a name. It was just called the beast.
Okay, beast. But then what was your first word that you invented word there?
Louder and louder, closer and closer, until it appeared around a clump of zincle.
That's right, the clump of zincle. Sorry, that's right. I got it right there. I did write it, clump of zincle. So yes, I really liked that. So you just immediately are into realizing you're in a different place, because there is no zincle we've heard of, and that's, I think, a good use of invented language on this kind of a scale, where it's not a full form language, but helps emphasize that you've created a sort of a real alternative world. It's not just a little creature sitting on a mushroom with some other strange creature, but it has its own vocabulary, its language, and that implies that it's going to have its own history and culture that is different from ours. And of course, the detail, the beast rolls its eyes. I mean, all of this kind of thing that all of you are doing, which I'm keep calling attention to because you're all doing it, and I want to reinforce it across the board, is these little details, little ticks that bring the things alive, bring the imaginary world alive, to communicate ideas. So thank you all for coming. Thank you for staying. We'll continue next week, so I'll see you then.